moment coming up, just returned from a tour of the Pacific Northwest. He's performed at Hell Yes Fest in New Orleans, Fun Fest. He's one of our favorite buddies. Please welcome the wonderful Joe Faina, everybody!
How are you guys? You guys good? Yeah? What's up, man? Oh, you guys, such great weather outside. It's been so long since we've had that. I used it to go on a brewery tour today because I'm a white guy in my 30s. That's what you do. The brewery tour is a very interesting situation because I've been on multiple ones and there's no reason to do that. To go on more than one brewery tour. Brewery tour is the only place in the world that makes beer boring. Here's every brewery tour that you go on. I did this the other day. So it's a guy, it's a lot like me, but with flip-flops on. And he's probably also holding a beer, red flag. And he's just doing this for 45 minutes. Okay, so you see this big iron vat up here? We take the liquid from that vat, and then it goes into that one. And then that one for 45 minutes. That's every single brewery tour. The only way that you can make it fun, I started playing a game with friends of mine when I go on them, and it's a game people play called Spot the Home Brewer. Like all addictive games, simpler is better, and this is the simplest game ever to play. What you do is you look for the one guy asking way too many questions about the process. So always one guy in the process. And what I've learned on this is that the guy who is asking all of the questions on the brewery tour is not doing so because he loves learning about the process. He does it because he needs to one-up the people who work at the brewery and show that how he knows more than they do. This guy's laughing real hard at this right now. You've been to Jester King too, huh? Welcome. Here is what they do, right? They're always walking around trying to one-up. So it'll be a guy in the brewer tour like, yeah, hi, I couldn't help notice that you guys get your hops sourced from out of state. Where do you guys get them sourced from? Oh, interesting, Idaho. Okay. I'd have done Washington myself, but or he's walking around saying things like, yeah, so in the cooling tank up there, what temperature do you keep your beer at when you're cooling it before you sell it out? Oh, interesting. 35 degrees? Yeah, that's interesting. Could have done 34. So. Like guy thinks that he's going to impress people, right? That person is always thinking they're going to impress people with their knowledge, and he's going to get hired or open his own brewery, and no one's ever impressed. It never works. I have to stop going on brewery tours now. Mostly because they say I ask too many questions. It was me the whole time! The worst M. Night Shyamalan twists ever. I went home to visit my parents recently. They all live in California because they love taxes and hate water. Even worse, going home to visit them, I stay in a childhood bedroom. Anyone ever done that before? You stay in a childhood bedroom? It's very weird, right? Because it's adult you, and it's probably still furnished relatively the same way. You're being shocked to walk in and be like, wait a minute, I don't remember being that into the Backstreet Boys. Stand corrected. It's just a very weird situation to come home, visiting your friends when you go home, and you come back to your house late one night, just tired, and you're drunk, and then you stay in a childhood bedroom. That's horrifying. However, it's even more horrifying, I found out, for that kid that's now living in that bedroom. You see, I forgot my parents sold that house about 15 years ago. It was the only address I had memorized, and frankly, my phone was dead, so thanks, Google. I'm gonna be on a list now. I'm gonna be on that list, and I'm on that list. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs earlier. We just had the NFL draft. I play a lot of fantasy sports, which is dumb also. Fantasy fans in here who play fantasy sports here, round of applause. Yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough. That is not true. There are more people, they don't want to admit it. That's not what that should be called. Fantasy football? Like, I think it's fantasy because I'm dreaming if I think anybody gives a shit about my team. Fantasy sports. That's the worst name for that because that is not my fantasy. To be bad at that too. Right? In the world of fantasy basketball, I am still the awkward, uncoordinated old white guy at the gym playing pickup games. Yes, it is totally my fantasy to check this website every single day or face a penalty from my friend who's the commissioner now. It is my fantasy to go do a live draft for some reason at a Buffalo Wild Wings up north on I-35 with a bunch of my friends, older military buddies, where there's the one guy who has to all of a sudden be an analyst and tell me about how my choice of picking Reggie Bush in the first round makes me a faggot. That is my fantasy. My friend's military buddies, his old friends from the Navy, were in that draft, and that guy did say that to me, and I was very taken aback that that was his choice, and I didn't know what else to say to him when he said that, so all I said was, "Thank you for your service." That's like the only interaction that I have with like actual veterans these days. Like we live in this world where like we're supposed to pay tribute to them. Sure, absolutely, no problem there. But I think people struggle with that. I struggle with that sometimes because of a lot of reasons. One of which is I just don't interact with people who serve like that in the same way that maybe our parents did. And then I think we would have a much different relationship with the military if we had on a more day-to-day basis an actual tangible impact that they made for our lives. It's a little bit different than it's been. And I actually had that happen to me this last Veterans Day. I'm going to tell you a quick bit about this. So last Veterans Day, first of all, Veterans Day is that holiday that, you know, we love the troops and then we forget that it's Veterans Day, and then you wake up one morning like, oh my God, it's Veterans Day. And I was taking the bus to work, and I was running late, so I'm on the bus, and all of a sudden I realize we're going downtown, and we're going to get rerouted around the parade for Veterans Day. So my first inclination on Veterans Day is like, God damn it, it's Veterans Day. It's not the attitude you're supposed to have. But I don't really have a very strong connection with people who serve. My only connection really is sometimes I played Call of Duty. And the older ones, not even the newer ones. But then I'm on this bus, I'm going around downtown, and I realize there's all these old guys on the bus, and I realize that I'm there with a bunch of old World War II veterans. It's just me and a bunch of them on this bus. And I can tell because they all have like their hats, like the black and white hats saying what ship they were on, like the USS Independence and stuff like that. And so I'm realizing that they are probably also really annoyed too, because if you're on the bus as a veteran on Veterans Day, you're not invited to that parade. You also have shit to do too. And so these guys are probably going to the VA hospital or something, so they're just as angry and annoyed as I am. And then we're getting around downtown, we finally get to where we're supposed to go back on track, and we get to this bus stop, and we're like, finally we're gonna get to where we need to go. And we stop, and this woman, who before then we had forgotten or didn't know was on the bus, but she stands up, she's very conspicuous because she's only wearing one color, the color of the American flag. And she's got bald eagle earrings, and she's got a giant USA phone, #1 finger. She's a huge fan of the veterans on the bus, so she stops the bus before getting off and just starts saying things like, I want everyone to stand and applaud for all these veterans, and I think it's so great what y'all have done for everybody, and on behalf of me and my family and Jesus Christ, I think that we should all recognize the service that y'all have done. She just keeps going on and on and on. And right at that moment, she just keeps saying things, and the oldest, angriest looking dude with a Navy cap on just stands up and says, will you shut the fuck up and get off the goddamn bus? It was tense. Nobody knew what to do. This woman was so shocked, her phone finger went down. It was weird. I didn't know that could happen either. It was quiet there for a minute, right? It's very, very tense. And then just at that moment, I realize that someone's got to say something to cut this tension. And so I stand up and go right up to that guy, look at him and go, "Hey! Thank you for your service." Appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I've been reading the Bible lately. No spoilers. I know I'm late to the party, but kind of in the middle. See what happens to this guy. It's not looking good. He's kind of tied up at the moment. I think the world would be a lot better place if people were as adamant about quoting the Bible correctly as they are about quoting Star Trek correctly. That's it. That's all you have to do. Because with Star Trek, you get any minute detail wrong, and people just flip out on you, right? God forbid you confuse original Star Trek with the Next Generation. If you do that, people flip out. Like if I were to walk around saying Jean-Luc Picard went back in time to save all those humpback whales, there'd be at least 5 of you in here who'd be like, "Do you even care? Do you even care?" Not so with the Bible. You can say anything you want happens in the Bible, right? Jesus was definitely a white male. Good enough. Take your word for it. I like to think of Jesus as a comedian. I think he's very funny in a lot of ways. And Christianity makes a lot of sense if you think of Jesus as this like traveling road comic. He goes all over the place. He's got all kinds of really great jokes, and he has a lot of fans. And those fans love quoting his jokes back to their friends at work the next day. And they just get all of them wrong. That's what Christianity is, a bunch of people who don't know how to repeat a joke. Like, Jesus walking around telling people, "Let he who's without sin throw the first stone." And you just know there was a guy going into work the next day and was like, "Man, this comedian we saw last weekend was hilarious. He had this joke about stoning gay people." It's funny because it's true, you know? Or, it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Dude, this guy had such a killer joke the other night. He was talking about how poor people smell like camels. It was great. All right, you guys have been so great. Thank you so much. I've been joking.